Pathways Dynamic Leadership. It is an elective Inspire Your Audience. And her project title is A Plant Parent's Guide to Avoiding Burnout. Diane.
Out of this limited Zoom screen, you may be surprised to discover that there are over 15 plants in this room. In fact, there are over 30 plants in my house, and there'd probably be more if I didn't have to keep them out of the reach of my cats. This is all because of my love for the hobby of indoor gardening. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. My passion for caring for indoor plants is referred to by some as indoor gardening, but a more trendy title you may have heard it called is plant parenting. Regardless of what it's called, it's a hobby I discovered about a year ago during a period of reflection about my interests. Now, while we all have different lives and backgrounds, something I think most of us have in common are hobbies, or things that we do in our spare time that bring us joy. For those of us that don't have a hobby, I hope today that I inspire you to find one. After going through a period of not making time for hobbies, I realized just how crucial they are to being a happy and balanced person. I'm sure we can all relate to having times where we feel stuck in the daily grind, like there's no time for ourselves. I'm here to tell you that even the busiest person can find joy and balance in a hobby. A hobby is an activity you do in your spare time for enjoyment, and it can take many different forms. Your hobby might be collecting things, reading, painting, cooking, playing sports, or really any other leisure activity like that. Sometimes we're so passionate about a hobby that we can make a living out of it, but ultimately, a hobby can typically involve growing a skill or allowing an expression of creativity. It can also be relaxing, whether through the activity itself or how you feel afterwards. I like to think of it as filling your cup. As we're going throughout our day, we're expending mental energy. We start each day with a certain amount in our cup, and each item on our to-do list and request from others takes a little bit out of our cup each time. So we have to find ways to fill that cup back up. A hobby is an excellent way to do that. Juggling a career and a family is not an easy thing, and some days I feel like I don't have any time for myself. I got really burnt out last year and was forced to look at what I was prioritizing. The problem wasn't that I didn't have time. It was that I wasn't prioritizing leisure time. I neglected it for so long that I had to really think about what I enjoyed. I remembered some hobbies that I used to have, like reading, doing puzzles, and playing video games, and that's when I discovered a new hobby, indoor gardening. I started by buying one plant. I did a ton of research on soil and light requirements, and I told myself I'd just start with one to see how it did before I bought any others. After just a few short months, it had grown several new leaves and was just gorgeous. This is that plant. Just 11 months later. Can you believe it started with just 3 leaves? So I let myself buy another, and then another. And here I am 11 months later, and I have over 30 plants. I love learning about their different needs and seeing how my actions can help them to thrive. It's not always easy to carve out time for myself, but I find when I make that time a high priority, it's much easier. Especially because when I make time for my hobbies, my outlook on life tends to be more positive. I have more energy and patience with loved ones and with the people I interact with at work. I also feel more engaged in the day-to-day tasks, and I feel like I have more resources to tackle them. A hobby isn't just a pastime. It can be a really powerful tool to reduce stress and ignite your passions. In many cases, it can also be a place to build friendships and a sense of community through shared interests. Social platforms like TikTok, Reddit, Meetup, and community groups can all be places to find others with similar hobbies. It's also an opportunity to develop your skills and grow personally, as many hobbies involve critical thinking, problem solving, and using your cognitive abilities. One thing I love about hobbies is that you kind of switch it up depending on where your head is at that day. As an introvert, on the days where I've done a ton of socializing and I'm feeling a little overstimulated and overwhelmed, Taking 30 minutes to myself to do a puzzle or attend to my plants can be really restorative. On the days where I haven't done a ton of critical thinking, diving into a really interesting book or playing a video game can be just what I need. All of these are great examples of how a hobby can contribute to a more fulfilling and joyful life. Where so many aspects of our life can feel like a have to, a hobby is something that you willingly choose to do for enjoyment, relaxation, or just personal interests. Maybe you're like me, and you feel like you almost never have any free time. It took me getting to the point of burnout before I realized that I do have free time. I'm just not prioritizing it. Um, I neglected it for so long that it took a long time to really figure out what I enjoyed again and finding a new hobby. And now I'm much better at carving out that time for myself, even when I have a ton of different things going on. Because of that, I have so much more balance in my life and joy. Don't let the opportunity for all these amazing benefits of a hobby pass you by. Take the first step today and explore your interests. Come on, what are you waiting for? Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.